Hi, everyone. Thanks for cruising by because I know there's a lot of demand on your time and attention. It's like these dramas just pile up on each other on an hourly basis, don't they? It's so hard to concentrate. So I'm going to do my best to cover a few of the major breaking stuff that is happening as we speak. So we had the illustrious alcoholic Hogsbreath, I'm calling him now, head of the Pentagon, Hogsbreath, summoning, against all strategic advice, summoning 800 admirals, generals, the heavyweights into one place. None of them would have been happy, A, to be taken away from their current missions, and B, to be put in one place. That does not make sense. Only if you're playing theatricals with people's lives and, in fact, the whole country. It's absolute nonsense. But what are they actually thinking? We just talked about this briefly on Hogarth's channel, but I want to go into it a bit more right now because basically the Yeti stepped forward and said, use Chicago as a training ground. It didn't mince words or butter it up or anything, just saying what he said. Now, this mirrors 1935 Germany, and Hitler summoned all the same sort of level of military. And the deal was the Weimar Constitution is no longer valid. You pledge loyalty to us or you leave your position. Okay. Now, can anyone tell me how that is different? Because they were saying same thing, this macho warrior ethos, and you're either with us or it's time to move on. Please. So I really want to take a bit more of a look. They couldn't be happy with this. And what do you do when your commander in chief is bonkers? You know, it's not the first time this happens historically. Australian troops were ordered into certain death in different spheres of war by officers and so forth. The disposable colonial army, right? That's what it was. That's why I feel passionately about this. But what are they thinking? What have they stood for? Well, you can be sure they are talking about this, and hopefully they will use more secure lines than Hogsbreath used previously. Now, this is my um, GOP card in terms of all these assumptions get made about family values and about national values, right? All the time. Every country does it. Every country has its own narrative about being the best, the bravest, the brightest, the most fabulous. It's not unique to America. However, given the sheer size and magnitude of the American military, this is what people thought they were signing up to protect. Now, what's the obstacle to that happening? Judgment, they can see, so stupid. They can see that this can't actually go forward as are being ordered to do. Some sort of judgment has to take place. Now, judgment can be figurative, like St. Peter at the pearly gates and so forth. But judgment can also be using your own judgment. So I think what the brass are struggling with is they know. They know here and in their hearts something has to give with this guy. However, this is part of being, this is the intergenerational card. This is about continuing a legacy. And again, all national armies and navies and air forces are proud of their individual national legacies. I keep sort of saying this because I think it's important for Americans to realize American exceptionalism is only exceptional in America, not outside of America. This is their legacy they're trying to protect. Okay. This is group discussions, group endeavors, group decisions, how to move forward. I'm very pleased to see this card. At the moment, this is the mini outcome. This is about compromise and give and take. So they're talking to each other, but I don't think they're ready to quite yet um, take a stand in that sense, like just not going in, not obeying the commander in chief. They're not there yet. They're thinking about it, right? But they're not there yet. Some sort of compromise. My feel is that this is more likely they will self-select, maybe 4 or 6 high level, very experienced generals, admirals, etc., as a delegation to go forward to the White House, which as we know, it's not like going to the Oval Office in normal times. This is like being given a day pass to the zoo. You've got a president who has the brain of a concussed goldfish, not even a goldfish anymore, a concussed goldfish, and sycophants. What crazy stuff. But you can be assured they are not going to take this lying down. Even if they don't act immediately, they're not taking this lying down. Now, this takes us seamlessly into Illinois, where the Democratic Governor Pritzker is now openly calling for the 25th Amendment. About time. About time someone did. May it gain momentum. Eric Swalwell, oh, I'll admit it, I've got a bit of a crush on Eric Swalwell. Like, you know, he could be my great nephew, in age, but it's so good to see someone say the sort of things he does. Love him, love him. He's also saying, glad you mentioned it, 25th Amendment. Now, let's have a look where that is likely to go. Will it gain momentum is the question, or a little just wither on the vine like most decent ideas and action? The 25th. If ever there was a reason, let's look at that. Future of the 25th, what's going on here? No! Oh, I love it when the cards surprise and delight me. Oh, Jesus, look at these. Look. In the name of all that's holy, these cards, goodness me. I think it should be kept, I'll just say this first. I think it should be kept, um, front of house, talking about it, because the Yeti is going to cause such a drama and a disaster. People won't have the choice. He will get there. This is the Yeti himself. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. The, look at this. He'll thieve money, and he does that day and night. Now, he steals money in his sleep. Right. So now YouTube's $24 million settlement, 22 million goes to the ballroom. And there's endless other examples of money being extorted. He's tried to extort 350 billion from one of the Asian countries. I think it was Korea before the debacle. So this thing of a $250 entry fee to the United States on top of what you pay for your visa, etc., extra. The selling of pardons he was famous for in his first incarnation. The selling of how his family can actually trade money for access to his evil little ears. The grift and the graft. Stay focused, Lena, please. Okay, look at this. At the moment, he's still wounded. It's not fatal at this point. However, look at these cards together, right? We're talking 25th Amendment. It'll become so obvious that it might even happen, his people might even engineer it. He might go so crazy. And once this demonic reworking of the economy that is contracting by the hour, I digress a moment here. A very interesting stat, which gives you some idea of, not that Americans need to be reminded of how difficult things are on the ground, but apparently repossessions of cars is the highest it's ever been in the history of the United States. And we're still only 8 or 9 months in. So unless you live in New York or Portland, you can't get around without a vehicle. And so back to this, as the economy self-destructs and it becomes obvious that and his numbers are in the toilet, they could even do it. And Project 2025 will try and put Vance in. So it might come from that side. At the moment, it's the Dems saying it. Things are moving quickly. Things that might have taken a year before now take 3 days, like so crazy. Now, just let me check my notes here. Oh, in terms of MAGA turning, the mad guy with the horns, the QAnon shaman, who got pardoned by the Yeti, not happy, still not happy. He's suing for some fabulous amount of money. What is it? 40 trillion. 40 trillion. He's upset. He's upset about the Epstein files. Mm. And that's the problem. He attracts such nutcases. But look, I just skim the Epstein stuff because a million other people are doing it. But it occurred to me last night, who has to be in the Epstein files for us to be actually shocked, right? Now, I'm not going to, but I could name 20 names without even thinking about it who's likely to be in it from both sides of the fence. No surprises there. Let me know in the comments whose name in the Epstein files would actually shock you. Either side, don't know. I mean, we all know Clinton was a skirt chaser. He doesn't count, those sort of- if we found Hollywood greats were there, we might not like it, but would we be shocked? So I'm going to ask the cards here once I have a gulp of coffee. Big night last night. Going to have a quick look at just the vibe of who could shock us, where the damage would really be. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, oops, what fun children. Um, yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going full-throated in her opposition to it. It's very interesting seeing these shifts of alliances within MAGA. But okay, let me continue asking the question. In the Epstein files, what are the real shockers likely to be? What are the real shockers likely to be? Let's have a look. It's like a storybook of tarot. Let me share this. Now, I said some months ago, it's probably not so much going to be the names of people, it's what they asked for, what was their special deviant wish list that is going to be shocking. But I said that. Just remember that as we move forward with this saga. In this case, younger children. Look, there are global people involved. We know that, there'd be no shortage of whether it's Saudi princes or British royals, and, he wined and dined a lot of people. We've got to also remember, in fairness, the A-list hangs out with the A-list. So just the fact someone went on a plane to there does not make them guilty of a crime. I just want to say that. I would imagine the island itself did have people who visited who weren't necessarily there, maybe more couples and stuff. They went because Jeffrey Epstein paid for the plane or something. So we've got to be careful here, right? However, it is big names from all over the world. Star card. Now, um, Hogarth and has started a trend, which I totally get, of the star card representing the Yeti from the narcissistic point of view, the maiden looking in the waters of the lagoon. I have a more traditional take on it, which is someone illustrious in the American context, big time. This is my fake GOP card. Could it be? Could it be? Who would you love it to be? That's a better question. And I'm going to put it out there. Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. Hmm. Hugely powerful in the American context. Look at that. Oh. Now, before I go, I want to pull some cards for you guys. Just letting you know, in case you've missed it, Greta Thunberg and others, not the whole flotilla, but her boat and I think three other boats have been arrested by the Israeli authorities. Now, I've been fairly quiet, very quiet on this issue, but I do want to say something here. I recently went to an extraordinary gathering of women doctors who work in war zones. And these women had worked mainly as trauma doctors and surgeons. And they've worked in Afghanistan and Iran and Iraq and Sudan and Gaza. And they were saying that it was the worst conditions they'd worked under from the point of view of they were being targeted themselves, which is why Doctors Without Borders has actually pulled the doctors out. They were very distressed by this. So the question I have, and something I'm concerned about, very hard for me to talk about this, is at the moment it appears in polls in Israel, 68% of Israelis still oppose aid going to Gaza. Now, what these women doctors were saying was they'd never had that experience. They'd worked in terrible conditions on frontline war zones, but in this context, to have to deal with children with crush injuries and amputations without anesthetic and the ongoing malnutrition, and that two-thirds of Israelis still do not want aid to get through. And there's now a push, apparently, in Israel to regard this as what's called Gaza wood, meaning fake images that we're seeing. I find this devastating, absolutely devastating. Mhm. So let me know in the comments respectfully how you regard this moment in time. We have the bizarre peace deal that was brokered without Hamas. Now, Hamas were never popular with Palestinians. Less than 20% of Palestinians ever supported Hamas because they were a repressive, religious, obsessive group. They were not popular before October 7. And now Palestinians have been used as human shields by Hamas. Nonetheless, the Palestinian Authority, who is under the useless leadership of Abbas, the Palestinian people, in my view, have been let down by the leadership, both the military leadership of Hamas and the political leadership of Abbas. But the point being, they weren't even invited to the table. So I think it's a peace deal that's designed to fail. And this is not good. It's not good for humanity. It is not good for the world. And I think the isolation of Israel is a big risk that it's taking by taking this hard line. I will say one more thing, and I think this is very important, and I'm speaking now particularly to Jewish viewers. In the domestic security organization of Shin Bet, like we've all heard of Mossad, but if you're not familiar with the broader Jewish community in Israel, Shin Bet is lesser known. They are responsible for domestic security. Now, these men work in the shadows, they always have. They're trained in enhanced interrogation. These are hard men, is what I'm saying, right? Hard men, passionate Israelis behind the scenes, trying to protect Israel at any price. Oh. The 6 living members of Shin Bet have agreed to come forward and speak. This was some months ago. I didn't want to go into it at the time, but now they're reiterating this position. To do what is happening in Gaza does not make Israel safe. It's the opposite. You're creating another generation of potential terrorists by doing this stuff. This is not in the best interest of Israel, and they're not happy with the armed settler movement, which Shin Bet identifies as a major obstacle to Israeli security. Now, this is quite deep stuff, but I think it's important to have this conversation. Mhm. So let me know what you think. But let's lighten up now because everyone's under a heavy, heavy weight with all this. So let's look at some cards for you guys, how to deal with this intensity and pressure. It's got to give at some point. I want to give a big shout out. I keep forgetting, and she deserves her own slot, is Park Rose Permaculture in Portland, doing a magnificent job on a daily basis. Bless her. So let's have a look for you guys now. Eight of Pentacles inverted. All right, this is money and emotions. All right. Now, right way up, how often do I do reversals, guys? Like once a year? This is about perfecting a particular skill, right? Getting better at something, right? The risk with it being inverted is people not getting better at what they're doing. Does that make sense? So it's like feeling you're on repeat without gaining traction. And that is very paralyzing. So it's important to guard against this feeling. We have to trust each other that the resistance will grow. And so I think this is that feeling of, oh, no matter what we try, no. I think this is what is your plan for the No Kings movement, October 18, things like that. Really important to keep doing it because eventually it will prevail. King of Cups, by the way, what I think now with the King of Cups, this used to be my Biden card because Biden as an individual, forget it, the presidency, just as a man, had compassion. Not a faultless person. He was a mortal, but he could actually understand people's pain. He'd had personal pain. So that made him more compassionate. And he did do a lot of amazing things that he gets no credit for now. Anyway, the other side of this King of Cups is a man who's emotionally darker and exploits people's emotions. No shortage of those in the upper echelon. Remember Tim Walsh. Don't let them take your joy. That's what this is about. Don't let them take your joy. You're feeling exhausted, the word. Don't let them take it away from you. And this is becoming a perennial message now. Yes, it's about holding on to your money. See him, he's holding his money everywhere close. That's good advice in this time, for sure. But don't forget, it's about money and other resources. And your other resources are each other. We can lean on each other. So if you're having a down day, there's someone else who can just pick you up that bit. So when you're having an okay day and have that little bit of extra energy, you help someone else. And that builds energy and positivity into the resistance. All right. Okay, guys. How much do I love you? This much. Take care, possums, and I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.